folks over at Auburn Live just blessing us, blessing all of us with some intel here around the Tigers. Jackson Arnold is the conversation for us ahead of spring football, ahead of 2025 when it comes to what the Tigers are going to do in the fall. And the reports on him are very good, which is a very simple way to put things, but I think the way they describe Jackson Arnold is where this gets a little bit more intriguing, a little bit more informative. When you compare what Jackson Arnold is to the way they talked about Peyton Thorne this time last year, this is not to dunk on Peyton Thorne, but Peyton Thorne was very much so a player who thought like a coach, thought in black and white terms. And I think we got to see a version of that from him throughout the fall whenever he would do different media obligations. He would speak through the scheme and speak through all the things he's unpacking throughout the course of a play when he's asked about his interception against Oklahoma or this, that, and the other. Jackson Arnold, while he has some of that to him, he is a guy that operates a lot better and maybe a lot more preferably in the gray area of a play. To put all this simply, man, he's got some baller to him. Got some gunslinger to him. Now, if you're an Auburn fan, you're like, okay, well, JD, we appreciate the gunslinger part of this, but gunslinger usually means you got a couple interceptions coming your way too, and that's the exact thing we're trying to get out. Well, you tried the other way. You tried the quarterback that doesn't have as much gunslinger to him, and you got what you got. So bringing in Jackson Arnold, I'm excited to see how that pairs with the Hugh Freeze offense. More of a, I don't want to say free spirit because that's a weird way to put it, but a guy who just is more of a football player, if you will, playing quarterback, and I think they're excited about him. When it comes to how Hugh Freeze describes Jackson Arnold, you just go listen to the press conferences speaking to Jackson Arnold. And when Peyton Thorne got to Auburn, the way Hugh Freeze talked about him was good leader, played a lot of football, excited to have him. Jackson Arnold comes to Auburn, and Hugh Freeze is saying, I'm excited about his skill set. I'm excited about what he can do throwing the football. Speaking a lot more to what Jackson Arnold is as a player as opposed to the facts about a Peyton Thorne. So again, we are pro Peyton Thorne on this show. I think he got maybe a little bit of a tougher deal last year than it's actually all in reality how it was. But overall, Jackson Arnold, they're excited about him. He also brings more of a calm presence, they feel like, to this offense. So all in all, good things around Jackson Arnold. Now I say that, but there's also a lot of buzz around a true freshman, early enrollee, 5-star quarterback, Deuce Knight. Now, when I heard that Deuce Knight was making some waves during spring practice in a positive way, there's a part of you that you're like, okay, that's great, but what does that mean for Jackson Arnold if we're hyping up this true freshman quarterback? I don't think that always bodes super well if I'm on the Jackson Arnold train. What I've been told is it's not so much a Jackson Arnold thing as much as it is like, hey, a Deuce Knight is going to give Jackson Arnold a pretty good push within this battle. Now, is he going to win the job? I would be surprised between you and I watching the show right now. I would be surprised if he ended up winning the job outright. But I will say, dude's 6'4", 213, runs in the 4.4 range and has a wicked left arm. Not playing him is what we call stupid on this show. Just a bad idea. When you have a dude with that skill set and you have the offensive acumen that Hugh Freeze does, they're going to find a way to put him on the field. I can't prove it, but I can feel pretty confident in promising he will have some sort of role here in 2025. Look at what Robbie Ashford was in this offense for Hugh Freeze. I've been told that Deuce Knight is a superior talent to Robbie Ashford, which tracks based on what we're hearing here. So the quarterback room, feel good about Arnold, feel good about Deuce Knight. Ashton Daniels will start practicing with the team in the fall, the Stanford transfer. But all in all, man, Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold are getting the bulk of the reps. They're the only two scholarship quarterbacks in the spring right now that are practicing for Auburn. So if you're Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold trying to learn the playbook, that's probably advantageous for you as we get rolling here heading into the second half, I suppose, of Auburn spring practice here around the corner. Now, the wide receiver room, this is not breaking news, but it's ridiculous. You knew that already when you checked out what the roster had on it, when you look at it on paper. Cam Coleman, with the wide receiver room being ridiculous, I've been told he is on another level of ridiculous. So that in itself, I mean, take what you want from that. We already knew he's a freak show. We already knew what he was physically. You got to see him flash a little bit more at the end of last season. I think he's going to pick up where he left off. I also think that when you talk about what they have at quarterback, there should be some confidence for a Cam Coleman now, maybe having more at quarterback to allow him to flash a little bit more. Auburn went a lot more drop back pass towards the end of last season than you saw it pay dividends for number 8, so I think that's something to keep an eye on. I've been told that he is a lot more smooth in his routes, which when you have a dude who's got the physical skill set of a Cam Coleman, you're kind of nitpicking to begin with. But again, another year playing college football. It's now his second spring. They're very, very excited, to say the least, about what he's going to be in 2025. Now, him and Eric Singleton now, remember, they got via the transfer portal from Georgia Tech. I was told from someone who watched practice that neither of those dudes lost a rep in one-on-ones. Now, Cato is the producer for the hard count. He played defensive back, and he will tell you, and I will also tell you, having played offense, one-on-ones absolutely favors the offense, but to have those dudes not lose a single rep, that's a good thing. Now, only a 10-minute period, so I don't know how many reps we're actually taking between those two, but it's not lose a rep. They're going to be a problem for you next year in 2025 out there on the Plains. Eric Singleton also is a guy that they're going to utilize in a number of different ways. He can line up out wide, line up in the slot. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him line up somewhere else in the formation. Like, he's a dude that you are not going to take off of the football field. So you start to do the math here in terms of the genres of receivers Auburn has. You got the big body Cam Coleman. You got Eric Singleton, who's kind of a supercharged gadget player of sorts. Oh, by the way, you also just have Malcolm Simmons, who runs like a 4.3, I've been told. So you got another speed freak there. To go along with Eric Singleton, I forgot to mention this. I've been told he's the fastest player on the team. And then you got Sam Turner, who's a true freshman who is going to, it sounds like, have some sort of role in an already stacked wide receiver room at Auburn. They're going to have what they need at the wide receiver position, okay? So that puts even more pressure on the quarterback position to be right, but it's not a thing where you don't have the guys to go win on the outside. And we've seen this now in modern college football. It's still about the bread and butter things. You still have to play good defense, still be able to run the football, win in the trenches. But if you don't have dudes that can burn out wide for you, you're not winning anything. Auburn has that equation. Auburn has that taken care of on the outside. Now, the defense, it's so early in spring practice, so I hesitate to get too invested on that side of the football. But the early returns they are more talented than they were a season ago. And Auburn defensively last year allowed right around 23 points a game, so you have what you need there. With that being said, they're a little bit less proven. They're a lot more youthful. They believe that they will probably try the transfer portal at linebacker and on the defensive line. But my take on this is kind of my take across the board when you talk about trusting a coordinator. If it's good enough for DJ Durkin, it's good enough for me. DJ Durkin knows what he's doing on that side of the football. I'm going to go ahead and trust him that they're going to be in a good enough spot defensively. Now, will they be dominant? No, but I don't think you have to be dominant on defense to win the SEC or to do what Auburn's trying to do in 2025, which to me, the sweet spot, I've said before, I put this on the board, like 8-ish wins would be awesome for Auburn. That sets up 2026 being a year where you can go shoot for 10 and you win 10, you're in the playoff, and we're off to the races. But the bottom line here is, to put a bow on this for the Auburn spring intel, the talent level for you is no longer having to be compensated for on the Plains. Rewind like 3-4 years ago, you were trying to figure out a way to scheme around what you didn't have on your roster. Hey, can we have some sleight of hand to go beat the big boys in the SEC? You don't have to do that anymore. Now it's more so a question of, can you find a way to get over the hump and win those games and do the things that good teams do to go get that win total that you want to get and go achieve what you want to achieve. It's not about talent anymore. That's a tremendous talking point here for us as we move forward for Auburn. That's a tremendous thing to hear if you're an Auburn fan, that it's no longer about what you have in the cupboard. It's more about, can you put it together and follow the recipe. So excited to hear that for the good folks on the Plains.